Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today we are going to be talking about my 24 books that I want to read in 2024. If you have been watching my previous content, this obviously might be a little bit different than what I've been filming, but honestly, I think like before I focused a lot more on makeup, but the reality is like I am reading all of the time. So we're gonna give book content a shot, and I just like talking about books, so I thought that it was perfect. I did make a list of everything that I wanted to read in 2024, so we're just gonna go through and talk about some good reads I'm hoping to get to this year. And actually, I forgot to mention, so I made like a whole list, so I'm just going based on this so I can like check them off as I go through the year. And I've actually already read 2 of these books that I'm going to show you this month, because I was just like, you know what, like we'll make a bit of progress each month. So my goal is to read 2 of them each month, and then that should get me to my 24 goal by the end of the year. So very cool. And then also I'm doing a book of the year challenge, so I'm thinking we do like a battle of the books kind of video at the end of the year, kind of just talking about like all of my favorites from all of 2024, and I think that would be really fun. So the first one on the top of the stack is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I have been putting off reading this because I honestly just don't really want this reading experience to be over. I have loved reading the Harry Potter series so much, and it's just the coziest book, so I kind of just save it for a rainy day. I really loved The Half-Blood Prince. I actually finished that up this month, and it's just so dark now, but I love it. Like, I love the dark ages of Harry Potter. I just think the plot is done so well, and obviously everyone loved them for a reason. I'm just really late to the game. If you hear a bunch of noises, Lola, my dog, is right here just chewing on her toys, so any weird noises, it's her. The next book that I'm wanting to read this year is The Secret History of the World, and as you can see, I've already started it. It's like 577 pages, including the postscript, so it's gonna take me a while. I'm not very good at sitting down and reading nonfiction books in one shot, so my goal is to finish this over the year. It is really interesting. It's about secret societies of the world over time and kind of how they've developed. Right now I'm on page 49. It is the nicest, by the way, floppy paperback. Like, once I get a few more pages in, like it'll sit nicely like this. It's super comfortable to read, so I've been really loving this book, and I can't wait to continue to read this. Next one is actually something I just randomly picked up at Barnes & Noble for the 50% off all hardbacks sale. This is The Glutton, and it has a lot of religious themes in it, I know, but basically...
In 1798 in France, nuns move along the dark corridors of Versailles Hospital, where a young sister Perpetua has been tasked with sitting with the patient who must always be watched.
And it just kind of goes into a lot of like sinister things. I'm not sure what this is really considered. Anyway, essentially, I think it just goes into the sin of gluttony a lot through this person's experience. And this is just what I kind of gathered, but I could be entirely wrong because I don't really read summaries when I buy books. I know you're not really supposed to, but I kind of buy them for the cover. This was a cute cover, so excited. I also kind of do that because then it throws me into different genres, so I've really been loving doing that. But yeah, I'm excited to read this one. Okay, the next book that I'm getting was also a 50% off hardcover pick, but it's called The Bookbinder, and I love books that involve anything bookish, so this was kind of an instant pickup for me just based on that. But this one says a young British woman working in bookbindery gets a chance to pursue knowledge and love when World War I upends her life in this new novel from the New York Times bestselling author of Reese's Book Club pick, The Dictionary of Lost Words, which I have not read, and I didn't really think about that before I bought it. So I'm going to see if I really need to read that before I need to read this one. But I want to read this one. So this is on my list for this year. Okay, another pick for this year is Inkheart, and I watched this movie a really long time ago and I never actually read the book. But I loved the movie so much, and I just don't see how Inkheart would be worse. I feel like it would be better. You know, the books are always better than the movies. So I picked this up at the used bookstore, and I really want to get to this year. Obviously, if I read this one, then I would want to continue the series if I liked it. But I'm really excited to do this, and also since it is like a little bit of a younger reading age, I think it'll just be like a nice thing to pick up. Probably like in between heavier adult books. The next two books are actually from the series Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Now, I read the first few books when they were coming out, and I read them when I was a lot younger. And I really, really, really loved them. And I recently reread the first three. So now I'm on the last few. I don't have the very last one. This is number 4 and number 5. But I do really want to get to these this year and probably finish the series. So I'd probably grab the last one as well. I even have like this spinoff, you can probably see right here, Tales of the Peculiar, and it's like a prequel to the first book. So I really just want to finish this series. I really love this series. When I reread the first 3 though, they weren't as magical of an experience as it was to read them the first time I did. And I was also younger. I think I was like 15 when I first read them, and then now I'm 24, so it's been almost 10 years. So we'll see what I think about these. I kind of have been in like a funk where I couldn't really read anything and like really get into it or get into like the atmospherics or like the magic systems or anything like that up until this point, which we'll actually get to soon. And so I feel like I might be in a better mind frame to read these. So I really just want to finish the series strong. Like I really just want to love these as much as I loved the first 3 the first time that I read them. Not this last time, but the first time. But we'll see. Another book I want to read, and I think I'm going to get to this in February because it's romance, is A Touch of Darkness. And I recently got into more romance series, or more romance books. I read Hooked, which I know is kind of smutty, but I got into Hooked this last month because my book club decided to read it, and it really hooked me onto romance. So I'm really excited about this. Very excited to read it in the month of February, you know, the month of love. Oh, my one thing though, it is like it seems like it's based off of like mythology. I'm not a huge fan of like mythical retellings, but I feel like as long as they keep the actual mythology to a minimum, it'll be fine. I recently read Divine Rivals and really loved it, and they had their own like mythological elements to it, and I really loved that. So we'll see how I like this one. Next, I really want to read Little Women. I really would like to get to more classic books. I have a really decent amount of classic books, and so I just want to like know, you know, I just want to have the background knowledge for when I'm reading a new book, being like, oh, this seems a lot like this book, like, oh, this must be a retelling of this classic. And so I'm slowly but surely working on the classics. I'm currently reading Pride and Prejudice, but Little Women is one that I really want to get to this year, and this edition is just so cute. So excited for her. Okay, next we have The Alchemist, and I feel like this is such a popular book, and I've just never even looked into it at all. I've never read the summary. I just know it's popular. I see it on all the bestseller lists, and I just really want to read it. The actual summary, if you have not ever read it like me, is I just struggled through reading that summary so hard. But anyway, she's cute, and I really want to read this one this year. Okay, the next one is Like a Mother. It is a feminist journey through the science and culture of pregnancy. And I just generally have an interest in like motherhood and pregnancy and like all of the things. I just think it's so beautiful and I just want to know more and more about it. So this made it onto the list this year because I just would like to read different perspectives from that journey. The next two are by the same author, by Yeonmi Park. And this is In Order to Live, a North Korean girl's journey to freedom and While Time Remains, by the same author. And basically, if you don't know the story of her, she escaped from North Korea through many different avenues, and her story is just insane. I've seen her in a few interviews and podcasts, and honestly, the journey is so insane that I don't really remember the order of which things happen, but that's why I want to read these books, and I really just want to know more about her perspective and just, yeah, drink up the words that she has to offer. Okay, the next book that was on my list was Divine Rivals, and I already read it. I actually finished it today. This book, so good. I definitely will be reading Ruthless Vows this year. This was a 6 out of 5 star read for me. Okay, this was like so good. It was like life-altering good, and I really want to get a tattoo to commemorate this book. So like, it's real good. I'm gonna talk more about it in my January wrap-up, but so good, so good. Okay, another book that I had on my list, which I actually already read, is Chasing a Croatian Girl. My family is from Croatia, and this book was so funny. It was just so funny. Oh my god, Lola. Okay, apparently Lola needs to say hi because she just can't stop bringing things over to me because she wants to play. So, what is on your TBR for the year? She needs a haircut really bad. But anyway, my family's from Croatia, and this is about an American man who marries a Croatian woman. And the story is so funny to me because my dad is American and my mom is from Croatia. So a lot of the experiences that he talks about in this book, I am just laughing at because I've observed them or heard stories about them from like an outside perspective. And he talks a lot about like Croatian superstitions and Croatian culture and stuff like that. So it was such a fun read. It was really quick and easy too, but it was really good. I think I gave it like 4 stars. It was really cute. So I loved it. Okay, and then continuing on my classics journey, I also really want to read Great Expectations this year. I read part of this in high school, just a little bit of it, and I remember really, really loving it. Like, I think this is the one classic that's really stood out to me, aside from Jane Eyre. I really love Jane Eyre. But the one classic that stood out to me besides Jane Eyre. And yeah, so I just want to read the whole story. So the next book on my list is A Firekeeper's Daughter, or The Firekeeper's Daughter. And it's actually funny because I bought this like years ago. I bought this when I was still in college, and I kept the receipt in it. And the receipt was for $218 at the bookstore. So clearly I was having a rough day, needed somebody to with me. But anyway, I really want to read this book. It's been on all the bestseller lists. I don't feel like I need to talk about this too much because I think a lot of people know about this book, but I actually don't know much about it at all. I have not read the summary. I specifically, when I buy books, I avoid anyone talking about them in explicit detail because I don't want to know the details. Like, I just want to go in blind. That is my favorite way to read, is going in blind. So want to read this one. The next one is a YA fantasy novel that I've literally had for years. I don't even remember when I bought this, but I finally want to get to it. And I know for a fact I bought this as a cover buy. So, it's something about royalty, summoning ghosts, ancient relics, all the good things. So Really would like to get to this one this year, and it's another YA, so I feel like it'll be a good thing to throw in the mix. Okay, and then the next one is called The Gospel of Orla, and I was really drawn to this book for the cover, but then I started looking into it, and it's just like an interesting writing format. I don't know why. It just like drew me in. And I remember reading a scene in the bookstore where the man is driving or like riding his bike down a hill with Jesus. So I was very intrigued because I was like, how does this work? And so on the back though, it says in his debut novel, Poet, so I think it's probably pretty poetic, poet Eogan Walls, I probably really butchered his name, but anyway, imagines the intersection of the material and the mystic when a grieving adolescent stumbles upon a struggling savior. Walls provides an authentic and page-turning narrative from the perspective of his restless and ever-beguiling protagonist. As the troubled teenager ricochets between circus illusion and divine touch, she and the reader are beckoned to ponder where magic ends and miracle begins. So, if that's not intriguing to you, I don't know what is. Next is Atomic Habits, and you know, everyone loves this book. I want to learn some better habits, so this one's on the list. Okay, and then the next one that I want to read, I think this is also fantasy. Yeah, I think this is also fantasy, but it's Juniper and Thorn. And on the back it says,
"A gruesome curse, a city in upheaval, a monster with unquenchable appetites. Marlinchen and her two sisters live with their wizard father in a city shifting from magic to industry. As Oblia's last true witches, she and her sisters are a little more than a tourist attraction as they treat their clients with archaic remedies and beguile them with nostalgic charm. Marlinchen spends her days divining secrets in exchange for rubles and trying to placate her tyrannical, xenophobic father, who keeps his daughters sequestered from the outside world. But at night, Marlinchen and her sisters sneak out to enjoy the city's amenities and revel in its thrills."
And, particularly the recently established ballet theater where Marlinchen meets a dancer who quickly captures her heart. So, this sounds very interesting. Excited about this one. Then we have The Hazelwood, which is a novel, and I believe it's also a fantasy world. I'm just gonna read the summary because I'm really bad at summarizing things I have not read. 17-year-old girl Alice Proserpine and her mother have spent most of Alice's life on the road, always one step ahead of the uncanny bad luck biting at their heels. But when Alice's grandmother, the reclusive author of a book of pitch dark fairy tales, dies alone on her estate, When Alice's grandmother, the reclusive author of a pitch dark fairy tales, dies alone in her estate, the Hazelwood, Alice discovers how bad her luck can really get. Her mother is stolen away by a figure who claims to come from a cruel supernatural world where her grandmother's stories are all set. Anyway, this is also on 2024. Then I also have Maame. I think it's Maame. I don't know how to say it. I'll look it up. I'll look all these things up and I'll say them properly if I mention them in future videos. But this book is smart, funny, and deeply affecting. Maame deals with themes of our time with humor and poignancy, from familial duty and racism to female pleasure and the complexity of love and the life-saving power of friendship. Most important, it explores what it feels like to be torn between two homes and cultures, and it celebrates finally being able to find where you belong. So, love how that sounds. Love the cover. I bought this during the book crawl that I made the whole video on last year. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. But yeah, a lot of these are actually book crawl buys. Then I have this book, which was actually given to me a while ago, like a few years ago. This is A Million Miles in 1,000 Years by Donald Miller. And in the praise it says, in his funny, depreciating style, Donald Miller is sometimes painfully honest about his life, unedited, his weakness, and his faith. And that's all I ever choose to read. So, sounds very interesting. I was given it as a gift, and it has like funny like things in here. So I don't know. We'll see. I really have no idea what this book is about, but I've had it on my shelf for so long, I figured I should probably get to it. So, and that concludes all of the books that I want to read in 2024, or the 24 books I want to read in 2024. My reading goal is 50, so it allows me for some flexibility, you know, half goal books, half anything else I want to read. There's going to be plenty of videos coming up. Hi, this is editing Jessica, and I'm realizing that I was way too tired to be filming this video, but I filmed it, and basically all I was going to say is that there's a bunch of videos coming up. I am going to film a February TBR today and January wrap-up, so go look for those things because they'll be up in the next few days. And yeah, I filmed this a little late. It's already February when I'm editing this, but it's okay. It's just the first. And I'm a little late to the game, but I'm really excited for a year full of bookish content. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.